Hey everyone, it's Owen from Wrestling Inc. back with another wrestling news roundup. Without any further ado, let's get into the biggest story today in the world of professional wrestling. Former Ring of Honor star signs with AEW appears during Dynamite's main event. During the main event of last night's AEW Dynamite Beach Break, a lights-out anything goes match between Orange Cassidy and Adam Cole, an unexpected appearance by Ring of Honor's Danhausen occurred. As can be seen all over social media, Cole was going to retrieve a steel chair from underneath the ring, but was struggling to pull it out. Suddenly, Danhausen came out from under the ring holding the opposite side of the steel chair. The crowd cheered in surprise, and Danhausen struck a pose and opened his eyes wide at Adam Cole. This allowed Orange Cassidy to gain the upper hand while Danhausen was distracting his opponent. After the appearance wrapped up, AEW President Tony Khan took to Twitter and confirmed that Danhausen is officially All Elite. The former Ring of Honor star recently filed out an application to work with A&W, giving a nod towards the legitimate deal with AEW. The wrestler, who is notorious for his humor, added several references toward Tony Khan's company when he filled out the form. All of his job references were AEW related, as he wrote, quote, "Tony, boss, takes care of business, CM Punk, great friend, Billy Ass, strength coach." At the moment, Danhausen is out of action due to an injury he suffered on Halloween night. He broke his leg during that match, which he has been rehabilitating ever since. The former Ring of Honor star recently revealed that he's hoping to be back in action by this February. Tony Khan tweeted on social media, "He has arrived. Danhausen is All Elite." Undisputed TNT champion crowned on last night's AEW Dynamite Beach Break. Last night's AEW Dynamite Beach Break saw a ladder match kick off the show to determine the undisputed TNT champion of All Elite Wrestling. Sammy Guevara, the interim TNT champion, and Cody Rhodes, the holder of the original championship bouts, put everything on the line to entertain the audience. When the dust was settled, Sammy Guevara was the undisputed TNT champion and defeated the American Nightmare. Several memorable spots occurred during the back and forth match, including brawling in the crowd as fans cheered around them. There was also a superplex off the top of the ladder near the start of the match, as well as a breathtaking spot where Sammy jumped from one ladder and executed a cutter on Cody, who was on a different ladder across the ring. At one point, Sammy's close friend Fuego del Sol actually ran down to ringside and asked Cody to stop attacking Guevara's leg with a ladder. Cody acted as though he would return to the ring and focus on grabbing the belts, but instead hit a modified pedigree on Fuego. He tried to do the same on Sammy, but he instead gets thrown to the outside and got hit with the Go to Hell finisher. As the match was reaching its conclusion, Sammy set Cody up horizontally on a ladder outside of the ring. He then climbed on top of a 20-foot ladder and jumped all of the way down onto Cody with a swanton bomb. He writhed in pain as he crawled back into the ring, but as he nearly made it to the top of the ladder, Cody somehow recovered enough to also climb up. They brawled on top of the ladder until Sammy got the upper hand by slamming the TNT Championship into the head of Cody Rhodes. This is Sammy's second reign with the TNT Championship. He first won the championship from Miro on the September 29, 2021 episode of Dynamite, and then subsequently lost it to Cody Rhodes in December. Cody Rhodes provides major update on his AEW contract status. After last night's AEW Dynamite, Cody Rhodes confirmed that he has been working without an active AEW contract. In a backstage interview, Rhodes addressed his future with AEW after losing to Sammy Guevara in the undisputed TNT Championship ladder match. Quote, "There's so many elephants in the room," Rhodes admitted. "This is an insane week in wrestling. People think the Sean Ross story is BS. No, it's not. I'm working here without a contract. I'm not even on the payroll anymore. I'm working here on a handshake deal that is 100% legitimate." Rhodes continued, quote, "But I can tell you this, I've never felt more at home than under those lights wrestling for that TNT Championship, a title that will never ever be secondary because of matches like that." During the emotional interview, Rhodes also recounted a story from a 7th grade football match where he was coached by his father, WWE Hall of Famer Dusty Rhodes. Cody also addressed if he plans to pursue a rematch against Guevara for the TNT Championship. Earlier this month, Fightful Select reported Rhodes' contract expired at the end of 2021, and he has been working without a contract since then. CM Punk vs MJF officially announced. After months of trading insults back and forth on AEW Dynamite, CM Punk and MJF are finally scheduled to collide inside the squared circle. Next week's Dynamite will see the two men go one-on-one in the main event of the show for the very first time. Punk and MJF continued their verbal warfare on last night's show, with Punk begging Maxwell to step into the ring and settle their feud in Cleveland. MJF would instead issue his challenge to Punk for Chicago, claiming that he will defeat him in the quote dumpster fire that is Punk's hometown. As their words grew more heated, members of the Pinnacle came out from the back as Shawn Spears inside the ring surprised ambushed CM Punk. This eventually led to Wardlow powerbombing CM Punk repeatedly onto a chair. MJF then sat in the classic Punk fashion on top of his chest and said the same place Punk's journey started, it will end in Chicago. The two men began feuding in November 2021 after MJF extended his hand to CM Punk but was ignored. In the weeks that followed, the men would make headlines by referencing WWE stars like The Miz, Roddy Piper, and even poked fun at WrestleMania. MJF has continually ducked out of matches with Punk despite being challenged again and again. On the way to their collision, Punk has defeated Wardlow, Shawn Spears, and the trio of MJF and FTR when he was teamed with Sting and Darby Allin. Interesting name reportedly discussed for possible WWE Royal Rumble return. Kairi Sane is another name that was reportedly discussed as a possible WWE Royal Rumble entrant. There's no word on if WWE brought Sane back to the United States for Saturday's big event, but Fightful Select reports that she has been discussed quite a bit as of late. It was reported earlier this month that Zane's WWE contract is set to expire in February sometime. WWE reportedly wanted to renew Zane's contract and have her return to wrestle, but she did not want to live in the United States. It was also noted that due to COVID-19, an arrangement where she travels back and forth was not possible. There have been rumours on Sane possibly wrestling for Stardom in Japan now that she's officially finishing up with WWE. Stardom reportedly wanted Sane to work a special attraction bout in 2021, but WWE would not grant the permission. For what it's worth, Sane's social media activity indicates that she is still in Japan this week. While it looks like she will not be appearing in the Rumble this weekend, it's interesting to note that WWE wanted her to return at one point. Sane, who teased a possible ring return on Twitter back in December, returned to Japan in 2020 to be with her new husband, but continued working for WWE as an ambassador in the country. She also did some Japanese commentary on WWE pay-per-view events. She originally signed a 3-year deal with WWE in March 2017 and won the 2017 Mae Young Classic. She last wrestled for WWE in July 2020 and shortly after that announced her return to Japan. Sane left in-ring competition as a one-time WWE NXT Women's Champion and a one-time WWE Women's Tag Team Champion. Stipulation match for the AEW World Championship announced. On last night's episode of AEW Dynamite Beach Break, the AEW World Champion Hangman Adam Page and his current rival Lance Archer were featured in a video package. A match between the two AEW stars was finally announced for Dynamite in 2 weeks on February 9th, but this won't be a typical singles match. Archer requested that they'll have a Texas death match, which Hangman agreed to. However, Page was noticeably concerned upon hearing the stipulation. The Murderhawk monster Lance Archer returned to AEW earlier this month, attacking Page in the wake of his successful title defense against Bryan Danielson. He was sidelined in November due to a concussion and neck injury he suffered during a match against Eddie Kingston. Archer and Jon Moxley had a brutal Texas death match back in July on Night 2 of AEW Dynamite Fyter Fest. Archer defeated Moxley on that night and walked out victorious, receiving respect from the former AEW World Champion after the match came to a conclusion. News on Brock Lesnar moving back to WWE SmackDown. WWE Champion Brock Lesnar has been announced for several upcoming television tapings heading into WrestleMania. Based on his schedule, Lesnar will apparently be moving back to SmackDown at the end of February. Lesnar is slated to appear on Raw this Monday at the Heritage Bank Center. That will be his first Raw following the Royal Rumble pay-per-view on Saturday, where he is slated to defend the WWE Championship against Bobby Lashley. The Beast Incarnate is also scheduled for the February 14th episode of Raw at the Gainbridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis, Indiana. That episode is the go-home show for the WWE Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, which takes place on Saturday, February 19th from the Jeddah Superdome in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Lesnar is advertised for WWE Elimination Chamber and the following Monday's Raw on the February 21st at the Colonial Life Arena in Columbia, South Carolina. That is the last Raw that Lesnar is currently scheduled for. Following that, he is listed for episodes of SmackDown heading into WrestleMania, including the February 25th show at the Giants Center in Hershey, Pennsylvania, as well as the March 11th episode in Birmingham, Alabama. As previously reported, Lesnar is expected to face Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 38. So what are your thoughts on all the stories covered today in the Wrestling News Roundup? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Be sure to like and subscribe to Wrestling Inc. and I will speak to you again very, very soon.